Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a viewer kind of post a comment yesterday, which I'm going to flip in here, and it's rather amusing because he said, hey, that's kind of hypocritical. You don't say the same things about juice, and he means anabolic steroids, when you talk about pre-workouts. I mean, people get on gear and they need exogenous hormones to continue to train the same, just like they do on pre-workouts. It's really hypocritical to not compare the two or to advocate one and not the other. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing. Let's do a little bit of crafting and let's talk about it. All right, there's some reasons why he is right in certain ways, but that comparison is totally incorrect in others. So let's break it down a little bit. All right, number one, pre-workouts are being sold and promoted as over-the-counter products for teenagers and young men and young women and everyone else to utilize, to just go in and buy. With no doctor prescription, no blood work done, no age requirement, nothing. So to compare the two, when most responsible advocates or neutral advocates, meaning people who are neutral on anabolics, they don't see them as good or bad, aren't advocating the same things. For example, if you guys watch any of my Gear Chat series or any of those talks, like even the stuff I've made about teenagers in gear, I absolutely state very clearly there is no reason or good reason, other than if they've got a medical issue that a doctor is dealing with. There is no reason for any young man under the age of 20 years old to even consider using anabolics. Compare that with how many are using pre-workouts and being sold pre-workouts over the counter, and pre-workouts are being marketed to. This is your biggest group that pre-workouts are being marketed to. Number one, you got a problem there. Like me, straight up, I'll tell you, no one under 21 has any business touching anabolics unless they have a medical reason they're being prescribed for, not performance related at all. No reason at all. Number two, I don't recommend that people just walk in and buy anabolics. I tell people it's a decision that people need to sit down and very seriously weigh out. Is anyone recommending that people seriously weigh out the risks versus rewards of pre-workouts? No, they're just being sold and pimped by everybody. Half the YouTubers are making and selling their own now, which is just crazy. They're just being pimped everywhere. Whereas in people like me are saying, hey, this is something you need to sit down, weigh the risks out of, maybe even go talk to your medical doctor before you even decide if you want to do this. Get a physical, get a checkup, get some blood work done, weigh out if this is the right choice for you. Nobody's talking about that with pre-workouts. And secondly, I always say that if someone makes the choice to do these, that you really need to factor in the health risk. And I believe pre-workouts are just as dangerous as anabolic steroids, if not more dangerous, by the way, and I'll state that up front. I legitimately and truly believe they have just as many, if not more, health risks as conservative anabolic use does. I truly believe that. Yet, you still see me saying, hey, if people are going to make this decision, they need to be over 21. They probably need to be under the care of a medical doctor. They need to be getting regular blood work if they're going to take this sort of risk. Anything less is irresponsible. You really need to be monitoring these things. It's not really optional. It's not a good idea. And maybe even talk to your doctor about prescribing them so that you know what you're getting, so that you know that you're getting the actual real product, not contaminated, not spiked with something, not mixed with something else, not unsterile, that's going to hurt you. Pre-workouts don't do that. In fact, tons of pre-workouts have been found to have illegal drugs spiked in them. That's one of the biggest problems with them. Countless times, meth analogs and other stimulants that aren't even supposed to be in there have been found in various pre-workouts by a dozen different companies. They've caused people to fail drug tests and everything else. So we're comparing me talking about people going to a medical doctor and under a medical doctor's care getting a substance that they know is FDA approved and pure versus something being sold over the counter that is oftentimes spiked with illegal stuff. This is not a valid comparison, guys. Really isn't. Now, here's the real big kicker. This is where it gets even more interesting. We have countless studies showing that anabolic steroids increase muscle size and they increase strength. Anyone care to dispute that? The science is against you. We have dozens of medical studies now showing that people can stop lifting weights, go on gear, not touch a weight for months while on gear, and testosterone, and they gain enormous amounts of muscle. They gain more muscle while sitting on the couch than the average person does who lift weights without drugs. All right, that's a big important point. They are actually medically proven and documented to work. We can take people, put them on anabolics, And several months later, the researchers can come check, they will have gained enormous amounts of muscle and strength every single time. We have a single study showing that pre-workouts do any of that. These various pre-workout mixtures that people take that they get addicted to and then require to train, we don't have any independent study showing that someone put on pre-workouts for 6 months straight, every training session, gained a single ounce more muscle or more strength at the end of that 6-month period or 5-month period than a person who doesn't use them and trains on the same program. When we compare groups, we have not had a single study prove that they actually improve muscle or performance in the long term beyond just the immediate workout at the gym. In fact, there is some reasons to believe medically that pre-workouts can over time actually reduce your gains because they can fatigue the peripheral nervous system and central nervous system more, therefore counteracting the slightly heavier weight and the occasional extra rep you can get out of them in the gym from the stimulants. All right, we know that they can help you a little bit there with performance in the short term, but the negative effect on recovery can actually offset that potential gain, and in some cases it could, in theory, offset it enough that it actually reduces performance and muscle gains over the course of weeks or months. So therefore, people are taking these things and they might actually be losing progress as a result of it. We don't have studies confirming it either direction, but that is actually a distinct possibility when you look at the way that these various pre-workouts work, that they might over the course of several months give you less gains than had you not taken them. So it's a big difference, because here's the difference. We know for a fact anyone who uses anabolics, their muscle and strength is going to go up dramatically. Now, we know when they come off of them, they start losing that performance. The problem we have with pre-workouts, once people become addicted to these, addicted in their own way, I mean, steroids are addictive in the sense of your body stops producing testosterone when you're on them. So that is in a way a form of addiction, because you need it then, your body becomes reliant upon it. Well, you become reliant upon these pre-workouts, and look how many people have used pre-workouts for months on end. Then they come off of them and they find their training intensity and ability to work goes down the toilet. Well, at least with the anabolics, it went up. And even when you go down the toilet, when you come off of them, you still are oftentimes better off than when you started. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I mean, this has its negatives also. But you at least gain something from it. With the pre-workouts, we don't have any evidence that you gained anything. So when you get addicted to them and you come off of it, you are oftentimes worse off than when you started. Because now you can't even perform at the level you were performing at 3 months ago when you started taking them. And they're very expensive. I mean, when you factor these in, honestly, people can get a bottle of testosterone sometimes for less than these pre-workouts cost. I mean, that's a scary thought. I mean, but it's the truth. It's the reality. And it actually works. At least it works. These pre-workouts, there's no evidence or reason to suggest that they work. I mean, did any of you ever go on a pre-workout after you've been training for a year straight, go on a pre-workout and in several months gain 17 or 18 pounds of muscle and put 50 pounds on your bench press after you had already been training for a year purely from the pre-workout? Any of you recall that happening? Nope, because they don't have any anabolic effects. They don't make any permanent positive changes to your muscle tissue. They're not anabolic, but they are addictive. Your body then becomes reliant upon them to train, but if they're not giving you a real tangible benefit other than a short-term burst in performance that then you catch on the backside, the negative end on the effect on your recovery, they may not have any positive long-term benefits towards muscle growth. They're not anabolic in any way, and then you become addicted to them and come off and you lose. You're set back. And they cost more than testosterone does. It's crazy. So to even compare these two things is ludicrous. And I understand where someone's coming from with that, because at the base value, like, well, wait, you're saying these things, people come off of them, they lose performance. Well, you become dependent on them, people become dependent on anabolics. Well, that is true, but at least the anabolics actually gave them something in that meantime. The pre-workouts had their own set of horrific side effects that affect people negatively, but we don't have a single shred of independent evidence to show that they actually help you in the long term. and they're being promoted to everybody. These things are potentially dangerous or potentially addictive. They have negative health effects, and they're being sold at every single supplement store across the country, across several countries and continents, to teenagers, being marketed to teenagers, with no evidence that they actually do anything positive and with a whole host of negative side effects. This is not a valid comparison. You know, again, particularly when you have a lot of the people who are saying, okay, well, if you're going to do anabolics, don't do them as a teenager, please. Go see a medical doctor, get blood work. Otherwise, nobody's saying the same things. We're not making the same comparisons. In fact, if I said the same thing about pre-workouts that I say about anabolics, people would freak the fuck out. They would freak out that I'm suggesting to people that no one who's a teenager ever take a pre-workout, and if they're going to take them, they need to go get blood work from their doctor regularly and get a physical before they start. Everyone would think I was crazy. I'm not saying people don't already think I'm crazy, but if I made the same suggestion I do with anabolics, it would be considered insane. Yet someone still wants to compare the stance on the two. Come on, guys, be realistic here. This is an apples to oranges comparison, and they're not even being recommended in the same way. And again, I personally think pre-workouts in the long term actually reduce performance. I don't believe they enhance it. I think they're complete garbage, and I think anyone pushing their use is a snake oil salesman piece of shit. That's my stance on it. I think they're completely worthless and they need to be pulled off the shelf. But you know what? That's just my personal opinion. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.